you're going.
Okay. All right. I am recording, and what I'll do is I'll mute that line. So thank you for reminding me to do that. I'll get the very quickest recap of what we talked about up until now. Our every interaction with the candidate. The candidate is going to receive the message through the filter of how do they sense that we feel. And irrespective of the way that I want to present myself, if the smile on my face, if we were to take that frontal facade off, if behind the smile there was a frown, doubt, fear, insecurity, then the candidate is going to receive my message through that filter, almost irrespective of what the message is. And that is why, over the course of my entire life, I have felt like the single number one most important thing I have to do is make sure that I am at my best. If I am at my best, then my message is going to be received through that filter. And so now here we see a picture of a member who is extraordinarily happy, excited, enthused. You can see the difference. The exact same message delivered by this person will not be received the same as the message delivered by this person. And so what do I do first and foremost? I concern myself with me. This is to a degree a selfish business because until and unless we take care of ourselves and put our own vibration at the space where it needs to be attractive to others, our message will not be positively received. And so I have had a series of daily disciplines that I have acted upon daily now for about 20 years. And the change in my overall outcome after having adopted those disciplines is absolutely stunning. Now, the truth is, I was able to have positive financial outcome much of my life in advance of the development of the disciplines. However, success is measured in a variety of things. Success certainly is not measured solely and only in whatever our financial outcome is. And so, first and foremost, I would tell you all that if you would like your outcomes to start getting better today, with the current knowledge you have, the current skills you have, if you want your results to get better with current knowledge and current skill, then one must do is get his or her what I describe as vibration to a spot where it is attractive to other people, and other people therefore want to go where we're going. And so this series of daily disciplines, those who have been in my community for a period of time, I'm hoping you all automatically right now know exactly what those disciplines are. I'm not going to spend very much time on them because there are other areas that I want to get to somewhat quickly. But I want to start right now with something that will make you become more effective, more successful starting today. And it's something that requires nothing more than willingness to establish a series of disciplines. And so my disciplines are daily disciplines done daily, build character. If my character is being built, I will be more happy. And by the way, this is my discovery over the course of my career, my whole life. If I am getting better in any particular respect, if I am getting better, that makes me happy. If I'm stagnant, I'm restless, irritable, and discontent. And if for some reason I've allowed myself to fall into a trap where I'm getting not better, but worse, then that would be a very bad thing. So I must always be progressing. Stagnation results in lack of joy. Lack of joy is perceived by other people. And so my disciplines are, and when I describe my disciplines, I am simply doing that, describing my disciplines. I am not encouraging you to adopt the same disciplines. I am encouraging you to adopt disciplines that are appropriate for you.
How does not concern me? Shows
Okay, folks, if I could have you all please mute yourselves. Anyone who's in this session, please mute
specifications are.
yourselves. Oh my gosh, have I got a mute all function here or do I not? Hold on.
It's different places.
Or
Home
audio
Harbor,
settings.
Walmart.
Hold on here. I'm sorry, folks. I should have been prepared for this better.
There's the seat. When
Mhm.
it clicks on it, like two, that's probably really low with a small one. If this
Okay, I am sorry. Folks, if I could please get you to do me a favor, would you please mute your lines, okay? Everyone, please mute your lines so we don't have background noise. Thank you very much. I
You
appreciate
got
that.
there, she said she flew.
No, she's not.
Okay. Okay, allow
Jim
recording. That is
Weissman,
fine.
mute yourself.
Please mute, folks. There we go. I'm sorry. Okay, each person, if you are not muted, please mute yourself so that we can have a lack of confusing dialogue. Okay, so my disciplines are, and this is in the order of importance for me. That does not mean it should be in the order of importance for you. My disciplines are spiritual in nature. That is first. Now, notice I said spiritual. I did not say religious. That is very, very different. I believe that if I am drawing near to God the way that I understand God, that I will in fact be more happy more of the time. I also know that unless I am consciously making that choice, that I will not be drawing near. That will not be the natural course for me. And so I will need to make a decision to do so. Now, again, I want to be concise in this illustration. I simply want to tell you all something you can begin doing today if you're not yet, that will cause you to become happier, not just on the surface, but inside. And if you're happier, not just on the surface, but inside, then other people will be drawn towards you. That is the key. This is a business of attraction, not promotion. If our proposed new member feels that we are rushing towards them with a message that is good for us, that is unattractive. It is only when the candidate sees in us something that they want, then they are drawn to us, and whatever message we choose to deliver will find fertile soil. And so, my first discipline, and it is first in order of importance for me, is a spiritual discipline. And I have bookends on my spiritual life. I'll describe them very quickly. Upon awakening, very first thing, when I wake up in the morning, the very first thing, I glance skyward and I just say, God, left up to my own devices, you and I both know life's experience has shown that I will destroy my life by noon today. You take charge, not me. And that simple acknowledgement in the morning that I need a little bit of help changes the way that I go about my day. And then the next thing that I do is I step downstairs and I have a little bit of a solitude spot that I go to in my home. And what do? I open up the book Alcoholics Anonymous because that's a baseline for me, and I read a few lines or a chapter or a paragraph, and that reframes my thinking. What do I do next? I reach out and I touch someone who has helped me get sober. I've been alcohol and drug free for a lot of years. My life was a train wreck. Now it's a fairy tale, and the difference, by and large, has been that. And so I contact one of the people who helped me gain sobriety, and I tell them thank you. That's what I do. It's part of my every morning. Thank you. You helped me at a time when I couldn't help myself. And then the next thing I do is I call someone that I'm trying to help gain sobriety. Now, you see what those things have done. Number one, God, we both know left up to my own devices, I'll destroy my life today. You take charge, not me. That sets the stage. Next, I contact somebody and express gratitude for the fact that they helped me. It'd be very, very difficult for you to go through your day being unhappy if you express gratitude to somebody at the start of your day. And if at any time during the day you find things you're not going the way that you want, think of somebody else you can express gratitude to. And just like that, things will start to feel better. I promise you, it's not something I think. And then as I go through the day, I imagine myself being on a playground. And as I'm on the playground playing basketball, I see out there, there's four other kids, there's five or six different basketball standards, and the ball bounces away. Well, if the ball bounces away, what do I say? This little group of kids, what do they say? They say, "Hey, little help, Dave." And so all day long, my life really and truly is a continual prayer because all day long, I just, little help, God, a little help. I've got a three-way call coming up with Carol Sodman Morris. I want so much to help her. Little help, God. Let me know and understand what the candidate needs to hear. So throughout my day, all day long, just a little help. That's all I'm asking for. And then at night, and once again, I'm not suggesting that you adopt my disciplines. I'm suggesting that you adopt disciplines. And I'm suggesting that the first of those disciplines be spiritual in nature. And then at night, as it works out, I'm Catholic, not trying to impose that upon you. But at night, I have a little boy who is 8. And one of the favorite parts of my day is at night, Bosco and I pray the rosary together. And so that's the bookends to my day. That's what I do. In the morning, little help, God, a few daily disciplines. I contact someone who helped me. I contact someone I'm trying to help. I read a page or two out of a book that finds its way home for me. Over the course of my day, a little help, God. And then at evening time, pray the rosary with my little boy. Those are my spiritual disciplines. And it's really difficult for me to have bad days if I act upon that, if that's the way I start and the way that I finish. What are my next disciplines? Next is physical, spiritual, and then physical. Now, in my observation, I think I have great respect for people who find a way to be happy when they have tremendous physical challenges. I really respect that because I try to imagine how would I go about life if I weren't able to be so physically active. I mean, I am out and about, folks. As you can probably tell, I vibrate at a pretty high pitch. And if I were not able to spend a couple of hours a day in physical exercise, it would be really hard for me to stop the background noise in my head. And so when I meet people who struggle physically, I have great respect for them. So the first thing that I do is I realize that I am subject to my gene pool. I cannot change that. But what I can do is I can help it as best I can. And so stop and ask yourself this question right now. Are you helping your gene pool? What do I mean by that? Well, if I were to now snap my fingers and bring into this session right now, my entire family of origin, what you would find is that my father was extremely obese and that he passed away as a result of alcoholism, obesity, all the things that go along with that. He didn't help his gene pool. That's the truth. He didn't help his gene pool. I have brothers and sisters, they are all obese. You see, left up to my own devices, if I just allowed my gene pool to dictate, I would weigh about 50 pounds more than I weigh. That's the truth, because that's the reality of my siblings. And it's not easy for me to not be very, very different physically than I am. I'm 68 years old, folks. I can't afford to not take care of myself physically. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow in my gene pool, but I do know that I can help it. And so I have daily disciplines that are physical in nature, and it's both exercise and nutrition. If you want to be more happy more of the time, if you really do, if you want to be more happy, then set aside 1 hour of every 24-hour period and exercise. You say, Randy, what does this have to do with my business? Well, let me ask you this. Did you set aside 1 hour of your day yesterday and exercise and experience the benefit thereof? If you didn't, then you have no idea what yesterday might have been like. Did you have spiritual bookends on your day yesterday? If you didn't, then you have no idea what the change in outcome might have been. I also have disciplines that are nutrition related. The fact is that if you know, you can tell that I'm not God, because if I was, there'd be one food group. It would be carbs. All I really need is sugar, but that's not what works for me. And so I have to have the discipline to eat spinach, even though I would really rather be having a Mr. Goodbar. Now, that's the truth, but it requires discipline to do so. And so my mandate is of myself, and this is a requirement that I have of myself. It's not an option, it is a requirement that I have of myself, that I spend 60 minutes per day. That is the dead bare minimum. That is completely devoted to physical exercise. And a portion of that will be cardio, and a portion of that will be very modest weight training. I'm not a gym rat. That's not it. But what I do know is that, like, even right now, because I was at the gym yesterday, I can feel just a little bit of tightness in my muscles, and it feels good. It feels good to me. I feel different. It's esteeming to me. Even right now, I can feel my abs. That's esteeming to me. You guys don't know it. I mean, I just told you, but typically no one else has any idea what's making me be able to vibrate at the levels that I vibrate over the course of the day. It's because I feel good about me. But I feel good about me because of the things that I do that cause that to be a logical outcome, spiritually, physically, and then we come to mentally. This one is so very, very important. It is critically important in today's world. For so many years, I allowed myself, and I interact almost daily with countless people who allow themselves to learn by accident. And what do I mean learning by accident? All I have to do is go to the good old Google and let it lead me where it wants to lead me. And you know what I'll find out if I let it lead me where it wants to lead me? It won't be very long at all, and I'll be hearing of the pain and suffering in Israel and Gaza. Will it make me happier? No, it won't. I will learn all about the atrocities going on in Russia and Ukraine. And if I let it continue chasing, if I just follow it where it leads me, it won't be too long. I'll be stuck in some porno site. Is there any chance that any of that is going to make me more happy more of the time or make me better? No. And so I determined a long time ago that I would simply eliminate the outside influences that make me less happy. Now, does that mean that my head's in the sand and that I'm not aware of all the difficult things and the suffering that people have all over the world? No, it makes me equally aware, but instead of becoming discouraged by it, it leads me to want to do something positive about it, as opposed to being discouraged by it. And you say, well, Randy, what can you do positive about it? I can just send a message to one of my friends in one of those areas that's being impacted and say, I'm praying for you and I'm hoping so much that your family's safe. I'm doing something about it. Instead of being discouraged by it, I'm doing something that makes me feel good about it, and it refreshes relationships. And so I've decided that I will only learn intentionally. So, how do I learn intentionally? Well, the way that I learn intentionally is that every night when I fall asleep, I'm listening to one of two things. There's only one of two things that I might be listening to when I fall asleep at night. And it will either be the audiobook of Alcoholics Anonymous, because that's been a baseline that has kept me sober, or it will be anything that ever came out of Jim Rohn's mouth. That one of those two things are what I am going to be listening to as I fall asleep at night. And now there's an entire two generations, three generations of people who have never even been subjected to the wit, the wisdom, and the teaching of Jim Rohn, because he's no longer living, because it's no longer present, it's no longer current. There is so much amazing content that can cause literally every one of us to experience life in a more positive way. And it is available free online. If you have not gone to YouTube and downloaded a library of Jim Rohn material, then understand you are neither as happy today as you might otherwise be, nor are you as successful today as you might otherwise be. And the future is not as bright as it otherwise would be. That is just the truth. And I mean, I was given a audio series, The Art of Exceptional Living, in 1984. And that audio series was Jim Rohn. And I'm telling you, folks, my entire life experience is completely changed as a result of my decision to learn from Rohn and to adopt his principles, and my decision to identify and become willing to admit what is my single biggest personal flaw. That is a pull towards alcoholism and drug addiction. Having identified a person that I can learn from, having identified my own personal problem, having then identified solutions to those problems, I am resolute in making certain that I am benefited by what would otherwise become a challenge. And how can you say, well, Randy, how are you benefited by it? Because every morning I get to call somebody and express gratitude. You know what, Dave? I wouldn't have that possibility had I not had somebody help me those years ago. If I were not helping people today get sober, I wouldn't have the profound feeling of joy when I call them in the morning and they're up again instead of being up still. That's what I ask them. When I call somebody I'm working with, hey, are you up again? Good news. Are you up still? Bad news. It's just that kind of simple, but it makes me smile when I say it and it makes them smile. Okay. And so I have discipline, spiritual, physical, mental. Now, any of you, if you're able to do this without feeling like I'm trying to persuade you to adopt my version of spirituality, then, for example, I have friends on here from Israel. I value and respect your version of spirituality so much. If you know me well, you know that. Okay? And I have friends that are, undoubtedly, I have people on here who have other philosophies and thoughts that are separate from mine. But for every person on planet Earth, this next reading is a valuable reading. It's called The Interior Castle, authored by Teresa of Avila. And Teresa of Avila, I think it was in the year 1527, she wrote that the world has become so full of hate and fear and cruelty that our souls have been seared to the point they will hardly let in more light. Now that she wrote that in 1527. Some things have become more challenging in our world since then, have they not? And so, if way back then there was a need to do what she described as dilate one's soul, she said there's so much hate, bitterness, and anger out there that it literally has seared our souls to the point where they can let in no more light. Now, if I am inside and the light is relatively muted, I walk outside and it's bright, my pupil will do what? It will constrict so it doesn't let in more light because it would hurt me. She says that's the illustration. That's what we're walking through life experiencing. And then she said, put yourself in an environment every day that dilates your soul such that it lets in more light. So now the visualization is I'm outside and it's bright, bright light. I come inside and it's a more muted light. My pupil will dilate to let in more light. And so I've developed disciplines over the course of the last 30 years that assure me that my soul is becoming dilated to let in more light. And I know there's certain things that do that. That's why right before we logged this on, that was why I watched Calabro, those guys singing, oh my gosh, stars, because these five kids, those five young men, they were so good. Whenever I watch anyone or anything do something that defies human description, then that puts me in touch with a spark of the divine. Anything that puts me in touch with the spark of the divine causes me to see things as being possible that I might otherwise not see as possible. And it causes me to see the good in experiences that I might have otherwise perceived to have been bad. And so the next daily discipline is I do not allow a day to go by. There is not a day to go by when I do not read at least a few chapters of some book that will dilate my soul. That's what I do. I will learn more, I will become more. And so I have my series of daily disciplines. Now, all of these things, if I have spiritual, physical, mental, and emotional disciplines, then I know that I will, in fact, represent myself in this way, or at least closer to it. Remember, we have our ebbings and flowings of daily life. 2 days ago, I went to a celebration of life that was a very, very sad one, a very sad one. Oops, could we have, oops, we got to mute ourselves, folks. I went to a very sad celebration of life. And so when I went to that very sad celebration of life, was I beaming with joy? No, the events surrounding the death were not positive, and it was bad. So I wasn't beaming with joy. But you know what? I was happier. I was happier than I would have been had I not done those things to be happy. You see, I can always be as happy as the current situation allows if, in fact, I'm acting upon my disciplines. And sometimes that will be really happy, and sometimes it'll be moderately happy, and sometimes it will be not very happy at all, but it'll be the happiest I can be. So here's my message. If you are the happiest you can be, irrespective of the external circumstances, then others will seek to be in association with you. And if others are seeking to be in association with you, then you'll find our business is unbelievably easy. That's the most important message I can teach you folks. If people would seek to be in association with you because of who you are, then whatever message you're delivering will find fertile soil. On the other hand, the most brilliant, wonderful, fantastic message in the world will find no, it will not sprout if they don't want to be in business with you. That's why when I find people who are focusing so much of their time and attention on gathering knowledge is good, but you can know all there is in the world and not make much money if we gather knowledge and develop skill. Knowledge is what we know, skill is what we know how to do. Combination of knowledge and skill is great. But what if, and I'm looking at my friend Dave here, what if my friend Dave were to say after this session, you know what, Randy's got knowledge and I know he has skill from past results. I just don't like the guy. He's dishonest, he's full of himself, he's arrogant. He claims to be in recovery. I smelled alcohol in his breath last time I saw him. I know he's married. He hits on the women. I don't want to be in business with the guy. You see, please, people go backwards. If we focus on who we are, then the message we deliver will be received positively. See, Dave, if I want to be in business with you, whatever message you deliver to me, I'm going to be open to it because I want to be in business with you. If, on the other hand, I don't want to be in business with you because of the way that you behave, it doesn't matter what your business message is, does it? And so that's why, folks, people go backwards when we're gathering all of our knowledge and focusing all of our attention on gathering knowledge and skill, as opposed to focusing on what makes the knowledge and skill have value, that being our character, then we don't get the outcomes we want. And that is why I start this conversation with the idea of daily disciplines done daily, because if and only if we are growing, and now here's the next part of this message for you all. If you want to grow a candidate list, many of you have been around the direct selling industry in your lives. You've been involved in other businesses where what do you need? You need a steady and continual flow of new people into your business. That's what we need. We need new people. We need new customers. When an old customer comes in and buys again, that is supporting the existing size of our business. When we gain a new customer or team member, that is the creation, that is the growth in our business. So what we all need are new ones. So now I hate to erase my happy smiling person here, but you all know happy smiling person. And so, what if in my history, what if in my historic world, here we have a continuum. Let's call this the continuum of success. And if on a scale of 1 to 10, if throughout the course of my life up until now, with 10 being the most highly evolved, successful person, this is the man or woman that, as far as is evident from the outside looking in, their life is perfect. Notice I said from the outside looking in, it is because no one's life is perfect from the inside looking out. We don't know what somebody else is experiencing. We don't know what somebody else is feeling. One of the most common things is to compare the way that we feel inside to the way that somebody else looks outside, and that's just wrong. We don't know how somebody else feels inside unless we're very, very, very close with them. But if in my overall life experience, and now what is my overall life experience? It is my physical well being, it is my mental well being, my emotional well being, my spiritual well being, which results in my relationship quality being better or worse. If we have all of those disciplines and we've then taken the next step of making an absolute decision that we will live our lives in complete accordance with the principles taught by George S. Clason and the richest man in Babylon. And I just tell you right now, folks, you don't have to make a lot of money to be comfortably financially secure. You need to not spend money foolishly. You need to learn the difference in investing and speculating. There's a lot of things we have to learn. So if we become, as a result of acting upon spiritual, physical, mental, and emotional disciplines, if we then choose to live our lives in complete accordance with the principles taught in The Richest Man in Babylon, if we live by the 5 laws of gold, then we will begin to accumulate financial assets. And then we will both be the person that people would aspire to become, and we will have the things that people aspire to have. Suddenly, they come towards us. We don't have to come towards them. Well, if on a scale of 1 to 10 of life's historic successes, on my scale of 1 to 10 of life's historic successes, if I am a 3, And so this is considering all things. What's my what again? Life successes. What is my relationship with my children? That's a measure of life success, isn't it? It is. What's my relationship with my wife? That is a measure of life success. What's my relationship with God, the way that I understand God? That's a measure of my life success. How is my physical? Am I taking care of my body? That's evident to other people. It's really an interesting thing. We become aware of things that we are active in. Whenever I meet a new person, or I greet someone that I haven't seen for a while, and there's a touch, or there's an embrace, or somebody puts their arm around me, or I put my arm on their shoulder. You know what I notice? I notice if it's firm and if it's tight. Why do I know if it's firm and it's tight? Because I know that matters to me, and that tells me a little bit about their discipline. That's the truth, folks. All these little subtle hints and clues. When people learn about you, there are so many ways they are learning about you that you don't realize they're learning, and they are aware of where you are in this continuum of 3 till 10. They may not have quantified it just like I have, but they're aware. And so if you want to grow a candidate list, you know how to do it? Grow you. That's how. If on my scale of 1 to 10, I am a 3, do you know who I appeal to? All of the ones, all of the twos, and one half of the threes. That's the truth. And so if I want to immediately have a new candidate list, what must I do? I must become a 4. Well, Randy, how am I going to become a 4? Daily disciplines done, daily build character. That is how I become a 4. And so if I become a 4, I now have access to all of the ones, all of the twos, all of the threes, and half of the fours. Well, if you stop and think about it for a minute, is it not true that I believe that all people need our business? I do. I think that everyone needs our business, and not just for the surface reasons. I think everyone needs our business because the global adoption of AI is a mandate. It's not an option. Every single person needs our business. That's not a question. But it's also true that we need certain people in our business. All people need our business. Our business needs some people. Our business needs people who have skills that we don't have. Our business needs people who have knowledge that we don't have. Our business needs people who are likewise growing on the scale, on the continuum. Well, if what my business needs is to be populated by sevens, then what must I do? Folks, I have to become a 7. That's the truth. I have to become a 7. And that 7 has to be reflective in all of the various compartments of my life. And so, and by the way, if I look at the world and I say, oh my gosh, I'm a 3, or I'm a 4, I'm a 5, whatever the number is, never, ever, ever be discouraged by that. If I identify that I'm a 6 in some category of my life, that's not discouraging. That which is measured can be improved. If I don't know that I'm a 6, then how am I going to improve? And so, how do I discover those things? I discover those things by having a mentor. Do you have a mentor? Do you have someone that you know, trust, and respect, that you care for, and that you know cares for you? See, this has been an annual experience for me for decades. And I'm going to have to replace the individual. His name is Robert L. Anderson. Tobe Anderson is a man that has loved and cared for me in a variety of ways for more than 40 years. And he's now about to pass away. He's kind of the trailing edges of dementia. And so this year, this didn't happen. It was the first year this had not happened with Tobe for a long, long, long time. Where every year in January, I meet with Tobe and I say, okay, Tobe, what do you see in me that I don't see in myself that stands in the way of me being in more positive association with more people? And then I have to shut up. What do you see in me that I cannot see in myself that stands in the way of me being in a positive association with more people? Because, see, other people can see things in us that we cannot see. I promise you that is true. You can see faults and failings in me that I cannot see. If I could see them, I would have addressed them. And that's why I have to find people that care enough for me that they're willing to tell me the truth. And it has to be someone that I care enough for that I'm willing to hear the truth from them. My entire life experience is different because every year for the last 4 decades, I met with a person that I love and that loves me. And I said, and I'm emotional right now because I don't get to do it with him anymore. Tobe, what do you see in me that I don't see in myself that stands in the way of my of more positive association with more people? And is there anything you see in me this year that is not as good as it was last year? Am I retreating in any way that you can see? And then I've got to shut up. Because even though this is a long, long, long term process for me, you know what my first response is as soon as he says, well, Randy, it seems like, This is what I see. And if it's not the happy, good news, do you suppose I say, well, thanks, Tom. My gosh, I'm glad you brought that to my attention. No, my immediate response is to push back and say, you don't understand. And then I school myself. Randy, listen, that's your part of this conversation. Get a mentor. If you want to go from being a 4 to a 5, get someone you know, trust, and respect, who you know trusts and cares about you. And at least once a year, become willing to ask, and then become willing to listen, and then become willing to make a decision to change that particular part of who you are and the way that you behave. And so, what I've done now for the last long, long, long time is try to reach the unattainable. The unattainable is I would like to become a 10 in some aspect of my life. That is the unattainable. It's not going to happen, but I will continue to push myself against the grinding wheel until I am no longer living. I can tell you that will be the truth. I will push myself against the grinding wheel in not just one aspect, but in all aspects in my life, because as I progress, I become more happy. When I become more happy, other people become more interested in who I am and what I've got going on. The reason I've succeeded in business is not because of my knowledge in business. It is because of my willingness to try to become more. And that has resulted in me having access to a larger number of people. And the various business messages have been received well. Okay, now with all of those things being said, when we contemplate what are the 4 revenue producing activities, there are only 4. There are 4 revenue producing activities in any direct selling environment. And this company, there's a lot to our company. It is a direct selling company, sure enough. It's a technology company. It is an artificial intelligence company. Our method of distribution, the way that we get the product to market, is network marketing. So we are a network marketing company. So, what would be the primary challenge of any company or any participant in a direct selling business? What is the first obstacle? My observation 35 years in is that we all have this candidate tree. We all have this candidate tree. And so here under my candidate tree, I have this little bit of low hanging fruit. What is this low hanging fruit? These are people who are so close to me and I am so close to them that if I were to call them up and say, listen, I know it's going to hurt, but I need you to jump off a 12-foot cliff into a pile of sharp rocks with me. This is our low hanging fruit. These are people who say yes, not because of what the message is, but they say yes because of who the messenger is. We all have a little bit of that. None of us have enough of that to build a great big business. I've never met somebody who has enough of this to build a great big business. And so the first revenue producing activity is associated with step number 6 in the 10 steps to getting started correctly, which I was taught. That which I teach you, I was taught by another. And that his name was Nathan Riggs. And that step number 6 is to recognize that it's a simple activity to write down a list of names of people who might be interested in what we have to offer. But it is a skill to learn to so live our lives such that our candidate list is perpetually growing in front of us. That's what it is. It's a skill to learn to live our lives, so our candidate list is growing in front of us. Here's the challenge. You don't net, maybe you don't. Many people, mostly interact with, have not yet developed the skill of learning to live their lives in such a way that the candidate list grows in front of them. And so they very quickly access this low hanging fruit out of their 5 or 6 friends who will join them no matter what, 1 or 2 or 3 do. And then they don't learn how to live their life. So a candidate list grows in front of them. And so they enroll 2 or 3, who enroll 2 and 3, who enroll 2 or 3. And it winds up being very shallow and very insufficient organizational depth is what is created when that's the way that we go. And so what we must do is learn to live our lives in such a way that our candidate list grows in front of us. Well, now I find myself at a brand new environment. This is a different thing. What we're doing right now is a different thing. When I describe this as being not an extension of my career, it is not. This is a turning point. This is not the same. This is an opportunity to finally, I believe, for the first time in my entire career in direct selling, this is the first chance to have true duplication. This is a chance to help people who have always struggled, who have tried, and who have been just the resistance has been so great they've not been able to break through. This changes it. Now, I don't know for how long it will change it. That's why we should not miss any moment of current opportunity. The current opportunity lets us grow a candidate list easier and faster than anything I've ever seen. Now, I've been referencing this a little bit over the course of the last couple of presentations, and I can't stop myself. I always include some training content in whatever business message I'm delivering. And I've reflected on a couple of days ago, I was driving Bosco to school. And by the way, another one of my daily disciplines, right? Earlier in my life, I didn't take my children to school. I thought something was more important, apparently, than taking my children to school. I was wrong. I was just wrong. And so nothing's more important than taking Bosco to school in the morning. When I took Bosco to school a couple of days ago, then I heard Rupert Holmes singing a song that I remember from 1979. And he was telling a story about a couple, and I'm assuming it was a husband and a wife, but who knows? It was a couple of some kind, man and a woman, and they had both become disaffected in their relationship. And so the woman took out a personal column. The name of the song is Escape. And she took out a personal column and she posed the question, do you like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain? You know, and she described a few things. And her husband, or the other side of the equation, he's home reading the personal columns. Why? Because he's likewise become disaffected. They've allowed the relationship to grow stale. There's no electricity to it. There's no magic. And their eyes are both wandering. So she takes out a personal column and he reads the personal column. He says, well, this woman out there that likes pina coladas. She likes getting caught in the rain. She's not into yoga. And she's got a half a brain. That sounds like me. And so they made a date at a bar called O'Malley's. And so they went and they met at a bar called O'Malley's. And when she walked in, he said, "Oh, I never knew." It was his wife walking in. And I never knew that you liked pina coladas. And I didn't know you liked getting caught in the rain. And I didn't know all these things about you. Folks, this is the way that I feel today about what AI is doing for me. Because now today I am using on a daily basis. And if you are not doing this on a daily basis, you are allowing a magnificent opportunity to pass you by. Every day on a daily basis now, I do 10 screenshot imports. I simply go to a social media page. It doesn't matter which one. It doesn't matter if I know the person really well or if I don't know them much at all. If they are one of my social media contacts, they at least think they know me, whether I think I know them. And I do the screenshot import. And when I do the screenshot import, what happens? Then my LevAi immediately tells me so much about that person. 90 minutes later, 90 seconds later, I know things about my sister that I don't know about my sister. I know things about every person that I didn't know. And so, what is my outreach to those people? This is it, folks. At step number 6, it is what? To grow a candidate list. At step number 7 is to know what to say and what not to say so that our candidate opens their eyes, their ears, and their hearts to possibility. And so, what is my current invitation? My current invitation to those 10 people per day that I'm doing the screenshot import, I learn just a little bit about them. And then I send a message. Paul, I just got involved in AI. It's the most fascinating thing. And this reminds me of the song Escape from 1979. I had no idea that you like this and that you like that and that this is your goal. Because those are all things that I just learned as a result of what LevAi told me when I imported your contact. I have not had a single person with whom I've sent that message who has not responded and say, that's kind of cool, Randy, let's talk. And you see, that is the most obvious, easy way to grow a candidate list that I have ever seen. Just do a screenshot import. Having done the screenshot import, you don't have to have my personality. You don't have to tell them it's all about the song Escape, but you can simply say, you know what, Carol, I've known you for 20 years, but until I got involved in AI, I had no idea that you love this. Carol, I didn't know until I just learned from my AI that your goal and objective is to do this. And that suddenly gives me an opportunity to talk about what Carol wants to talk about instead of falling into the trap that literally every participant in the network marketing world makes of trying to propose or trying to convince someone to be interested in something that we are interested in. That is a losing battle. The magic is in identifying what other people want and having identified what other people want, then define the parts of our solution that meet their need. Now, remember that I have taught for so many years. I have taught for so many years that the most important skill that we have in our business is learning to live our lives so that our candidate list grows in front of us. Folks, I'm hoping very much that none of us, I'm hoping that not even one person, I'm going to mute one more line here that needs to be muted. Hold on. Mute. There is today, there is today no reason to be in absence of a candidate. There is today, I want to say that again. There is no reason today to be in absence of a candidate because today you can, in a matter of 5 minutes, know things about other people that you do not know today. And over the course of my life, what is one of the things I've taught that the way I've learned to grow my candidate list is to talk less. For example, I'm looking at my friend Carol, and the pattern of my life. I can look back now and I can see it with clarity. If I'm willing to, and I try really hard to act like I'm in a helicopter periodically, and I'm looking down at me, and I'm trying to see what I would see if I were the news reporter looking down at Randy. What's this guy doing? How's he acting? How's he interacting with people? And what might he do that would be better? I mean, it's a kind of an ongoing visual in my mind as I'm going throughout my day. If someone's up there in a helicopter looking down at me, what are they seeing? Ask yourself that question. If someone's up there in a helicopter looking down at you, what are they seeing? Are you being kind? Are you being generous? Are you doing the things that are required to succeed? Are you being forgiving? Are you being resentful? How are you behaving? The way that you behave is going to determine the way that other people respond to your messaging, whatever it is. And so I've got this visualization. This person's looking down at me. What are they seeing? And I've learned over the course of my life that the way to grow my candidate list is to stop talking about me and to start listening to you. And that's what I realized when I was up here looking down. Randy, you're dominating all the conversations. You're trying to bully people, not bully, that's not me. You're trying to push people. Um, that didn't, that, I'm not, it's not expressed right. I get enthusiastic about a product or an idea or a project. And that enthusiasm, I couldn't stop it from washing over the next person if I tried to. But if I'm seeing my enthusiasm wash over another person, that's not going to produce anything. I have to find out what the other person wants. My enthusiasm for my project can drown them and not accomplish anything. And so it took me years to learn this, took me years to figure it out. And I had to actually start timing it. If I'm in present mode, I'm in teach mode. Right now, of course, I'm talking all of the time, not just 90% of the time. I'm talking all of the time because I'm in teach mode. I found myself being in teach mode in all aspects of my life. You know what? If I'm with a friend out for lunch or dinner, the last thing they want is for me to be in teach mode. They didn't come to be taught. They came to have a conversation with a friend. I had to learn how to listen 65% of the time. Do you want to grow a candidate list the old fashioned way? Learn how to listen 65% of the time and only talk 35% of the time. And learn that what's important to you does not matter to your candidate. All that matters is what's important to him or her. If we're listening 65% of the time, we'll discover what's important to him or her. And if our dialogue is then about what's important to him or her, if we're speaking no more than 35% of the time, we will grow a candidate list. That's the truth. That's a process. It's not an event. Right now, many of you would like it to be an event. You'd like to have new candidates to talk to right now, this moment. And so we have this unique ability. We have a unique ability right now with LevAi to become profitable in advance of gathering new knowledge. I have always taught that we have to develop knowledge in advance of profitability in the direct selling industry. In this case, because we can capture the knowledge. Yesterday, Dave asked Randy, can we put all of your knowledge into my avatar? Yes. You see, you can be profitable in advance of knowledge gathering because you can leverage somebody else's knowledge. Isn't that incredible? It's not been possible ever before in my career. All of you, if the content I'm describing to you, if you think this is valuable content and you'd like to have it at the touch of all people in your group, all of my content's available to you. Put it in your digital avatar. You don't have to have me deliver this message. You can deliver this message. Wow, that's a big idea, isn't it? That's why Sundar Pichai said that this is more profound than fire or electricity or anything we've done in the past. I think again of Jim Rohn, and I think of the amount of impact he had on planet Earth. How much impact would he have if all of that content were loaded into digital avatars all over the world, speaking in 150 languages and was staying fresh and current? Can you imagine how much profound those ripples are that have already spread around the world and touched me and changed my life? Those ripples, it is overwhelming when one contemplates and considers what the possibilities are here. And so, what it does first is it grants you the ability to have access to candidates you would not otherwise have access to. It grants you that ability to develop a candidate list in advance of improvement of character. The way that I've grown my candidate list principally over my whole life is improvement of character. This gives us an opportunity to grow our candidate list because of the coolness and the trendiness of the product. So I've got a friend that's on now from the Philippines. And he sent me a message last night. Randy, how do I start? Folks, how do you start based on this conversation so far? We recognize that the single number one ingredient, we are an ingredient in the recipe. Each of us, you are the catalyst ingredient in your business. I am the catalyst ingredient in my business. If you are the catalyst ingredient, then take a look and ask yourself this candid question: how good is my ingredient? How good is it? And then, because we'll all be either too kind to ourselves or too hard on ourselves, then find that mentor and ask them, how good is my ingredient? I am the catalyst ingredient in my business. What do you see in me that I cannot see, which is causing me to be a less effective catalyst than I otherwise could be? But now At step number 6, we grow a candidate list. Every one of you have got at least 100 friends on social media. You've probably all got 250 or 300. That's 300 opportunities for you to do a screenshot and to contact a person and say, I never knew that this was your goal and your objective. And until I got involved in AI, or had I not got involved in AI, I never would have known. Would it be beneficial to you to likewise know what's important in other people's lives? Guys, the door just opened so wide. This just created for you the candidate list, and it just created for you the invitation. There are only 4 requisite skills: know how to have a candidate, know how to invite so the candidate opens their eyes, their ears, and their hearts to possibility, and then learn how to present the business in a way that he or she can wrap their arms around. Well, so in this case, at this second, what do we have? Well, we have 2 opportunities every day to have a skilled presenter present the business on your behalf. And so you can be a bringer to those presentations. As you are a bringer to those presentations, remember this: there is such a thing as the ladder of escalation. And the real place where those business presentations, in just a minute, the reason I'm glancing at my phone is because in 12 minutes, I'm going to do a business presentation. Where does that belong on the ladder of escalation? What do we do first? We identify a candidate. That's step number 6. And we then do what? We invite that candidate with a properly constructed script to open their eyes and their ears and their hearts to possibility. And so I just described to you how I did. I had no idea that you liked pina coladas and getting caught in the rain. I have discovered that through AI, and I think this might likewise be a benefit to you. Would you like to see and understand what I've come to understand? We just created a candidate for you. We created for you an invitation to that candidate. We then provided the business presentation that'll happen in 12 minutes. So the identified candidate who's had their ears, eyes, and hearts opened can receive the message. But you know what, folks? This is wrong. Why is it wrong? If this is done right, then this group of people, right now, we have 70 people on here. This is what will happen. 12 minutes from now, I'll do a business presentation. And this group of 70 people, maybe 1/3 of you will have a personally invited candidate on that session. Maybe 1/3 of you. What if, on the other hand, I said to all 48 of you, the way for you to launch your business is for you to identify a candidate, use a properly constructed script for them to open their eyes, their ears, and their hearts to possibility, then utilize a short video presentation so they can see more, then invite them to your private launch Zoom. Then that business presentation that I will do in a few minutes, that would be the next rung on the ladder of escalation. Instead of having 48 people here, 10% of whom have 1 candidate on a Zoom in an hour, what if these 48 people all had 7 personally invited candidates to your private launch Zoom taking place in the next 48 hours? And then 2 days after that, those 40 people were here to see their next belief building experience as the catalyst as they come to know and understand the team. Folks, we have in our hands right now the single most magnificent opportunity I have ever seen in my life. That's the truth. The question is, are we modifying our behaviors in such a way that we can correctly leverage that possibility? And my time is completely spent, but I have no choice because I do want to just illustrate this for you again. The Hold on, screen share. Okay, so in my hands right here, what do I have? What do I have in my hands? This is a tool. Does this trim any trees if it's sitting in my tool shed? No, folks, right now, I promise you, you have been introduced to and provided with the most remarkable group of tools I have ever seen. And you know what? Those tools, by and large, are sitting in your tool shed. And if the tool is sitting in your tool shed, it's not going to go very far. Well, in advance of this session, knowing that we would have this conversation, I went to my AI chat and I asked this question. I am launching a new business and I feel stuck. How do I begin? Well, I had a call today from a person in the Philippines. And what did he say? I feel stuck. How do I begin? So, guys, what is our business? Our business is artificial intelligence. Our business is having access to the information. I mean, literally an hour ago, or an hour before this present, I feel stuck. Really? Well, he's activated his account. There's no reason for anybody to feel stuck. Because here's an answer. Launching a new business can indeed feel overwhelming, but remember, every successful journey begins with. Now, folks, if one were to review carefully what was written there, it is by and large, it has become my content. When I first used the tool, It was content that was more generic in nature. Why? Because I had not taught yet my AI what it needed to know to represent me. Now, if you were to go in and read what LevAi writes for me, it writes better than me and it sounds like me. Also, I want to say that when I first began using it, I said, well, that doesn't sound like me. And so then pride and ego does what? So I'm going to correct it so it sounds like me. And I said, Randy, stop yourself. What are you trying to do here? You're trying to get better. I've had one of the biggest careers in the direct selling world, and I have a paltry about 100,000 total contacts on social media. I have a stated objective. And by the way, folks, another lesson here. If you want to accomplish something great, then be public in your goals. Private goals held inside your heart, very, very, very seldom do they get accomplished. Why? Because no one is holding you accountable. We as individuals, human beings, are extremely ineffective at holding themselves to an accountability standard. And so the reason that I always say what I'm going to do is because then other people hold me accountable to it. And because I am teaching them what to do. Understand, folks, every single thing that we do is illustrating to another what we believe they should do to accomplish success. Isn't that true? I mean, Paul, you only do things that are designed to create success. So every single thing that we do is designed to illustrate to another what he or she should do to have greater results, greater success. And so my question is, what exactly would you have every person in your group do? Would you have them add 10 new contacts today to their candidate list so there's somebody to talk to? Yes. Did you do that? Well, if not, then it is folly to anticipate that somebody else would. It is about identifying those behaviors, which if we have determined in advance will create the successes that we want and then acting upon it. And so there I wrote it, and it came back and it gave me answers that are a lot like me today. When I first logged on, it was more like what it would pull generically from the internet. But one of the things I love about LevAi is that every interaction that I send, every post that I write, every response to a post that I write, every contact that I source, every interaction, application A is learning from application B. And every day that goes by, it gets closer and closer to my center line. And as I started out a moment ago, I was, well, I can write this better. No, you can't, Randy. You have 100,000 social media fans, followers, and you should have a million or more, given what the nature of your career has been. You can't do it better. You, in fact, cannot do it as well. And that's evidenced by your current result. Tame your ego. And then I found out, oh, that's right. It's doing, LevAi is doing hashtags. And I'm an old guy. I don't even know what I should be hashtagging. And suddenly LevAi is doing all these hashtags. Suddenly LevAi is doing this and doing that. I also was completely fascinated because, of course, in all of my wisdom, I think that I know. I do. I think that I know. And so when somebody comments on a post, that I write what I write. And my immediate response is when I started letting LevAi do it for me. Okay, let me just do it. Here's a post. I'm going to comment, or somebody commented on a post that I made. The whole purpose of LevAi is to grow my social media following. And so at first I said, no, I like what I like better. And come on, Randy. And what I found out was that in response to almost anything, I say too much. In fact, I thought that it hadn't responded because I'm looking for this great big dialogue. No, it responded, but it was 3 words. My response was 3 pages. And so LevAi is teaching me what creates interaction. Folks, my time is spent. I've got a business presentation to do in 5 minutes. There's so much more to talk about here, but I want you to know that we have found a mechanism that is better than anything I've seen before in my life. That does not mean that we're not going to have to get some calluses. If I've been using this tool day after day after day after day after day, my muscles are fit and toned, and I've got calluses on my hands. If you pick up the tool the first time, in about 10 minutes, your muscles are going to hurt. You're going to be breathing hard, and your palms are going to be bleeding. Folks, I have already, it's only been 10 days that we've had this product, and I've already got calluses because I've used it enough in 10 days that I now know how it works. And I know the things that it does that I cannot do. I'm confident 10 days later from now, I'm going to know a whole bunch more. But ask yourself the question, have you got any blood on your palms? Do you have any, are you creating any blisters so you can create calluses? If not, that's the problem. That's the problem, folks. Okay. All right. Good deal. I got to go. Places to go, people to see, business presentations to make. Everybody have the best day. We'll see you soon. Thank you.